I think we can't consume ourselves into happiness. And focusing too much on stuff will weigh us down physically and mentally, and rob us of money, time, and freedom. But if we want to turn our backs to everything advertisement is trying to sell us, then where should we seek the full life we dream of? Most likely you already have everything you need. And in today's video, I do want to point out a few areas where I try to focus to live my life to the fullest and enjoy many content and happy moments. I don't think you're surprised when I say that I think it comes down to how we spend our life, an aspect at least of living a full life. But I also do want to say that I do not think you need to have all 24 hours at your free disposal. I also do not mean that you need to live to 80 to reach living a full life. I think we can live a full life every single day. And it's not even about the amount of time, but about how we spend it. And this example of a morning swim kind of shows you maybe what I mean by that. I think it's so important to do something that we enjoy for ourselves and to do it slow enough to be present, to have time to notice, to not be constantly distracted. And this means quality time to me. It gives me the opportunity to de-stress. It gives me the opportunity to make memories and actually remember how I spent this time. And feeling more satisfied and more content when I do things like these also means that maybe I have less of an urge to consume things that might make my lifestyle less expensive. And for some people that could even mean that they need to work less if their life costs less as well. What's crucial to learn how to spend your time the way you like it and the way you will enjoy it for a long time is, of course, the relationship to ourselves. I think relationships are a very important part of life in general, but the relationship to ourselves, I think, is especially important. I want to be a team with my body. I want to be at peace with myself. And I think that really helps to enjoy a full life. Hand in hand with that also goes trying to be as authentic as possible, trying to be very honest with myself and with others, and therefore being able to be as much myself as possible for as much time of the day as possible. And maybe you do not have a great relationship with yourself, and maybe you're not spending all of the time the way you want. But I don't think that's a problem, because I think it's very important to see that life is a process. And it's not even a project that we have to correct and get better at, and in the end have anything to show to anyone. Life is enough by being just lived. And yes, it's great and gives you a lot of motivation maybe to have dreams and goals and plans and work towards something. But your life can be great without these things as well. Your worth doesn't change with your productivity or with how well you reach your goals. And lately I also got introduced to a concept that I think can really help to think about this topic here, and that's type 2 fun. So there's type 1 fun that's considered like fun, eating a great meal, going to see friends and spending a good time, but then there's also type 2 fun, which can be miserable when you're doing it. It could be an adventure where you sweat and climb up a mountain and think like, oh, I'm exhausted, I don't want to do it anymore. But afterwards, you are very grateful for doing it and you would always do it again. And there's many things like these in our lives, and maybe some of our stressful periods that don't seem so enjoyable in the moment can be considered type 2 fun afterwards, when we see that they were worth it. We did learn a lot. We pushed our comfort zones and we did something that we really wanted. But one of the most important things here, I think, is to ditch extremes. You maybe know that I ditched extreme minimalism. And in the same way, I'm just trying to allow myself to live in the gray areas of life. I do not need to be the best at anything. And I don't always need to finish what I started. I do not need to stick to plans that I developed 10 years ago. And it's okay if sometimes I'm happy and sometimes it's hard. And I'm just not living to prove anything to anyone. I'm just living. And I think that's very pleasant. But if you think living like that would be very boring and having no ambition and plans would just be a life spent without reason, I do want to tell you that one of the things I enjoy most is learning. And by learning, I don't just mean learning stuff in school and university. I mean the things that we can pick up and learn and practice in everyday life. And you don't have to learn how to make kombucha like I did. And I think when we talk about hobbies and things that we learn just for ourselves, we also do not always need to be great at it or again produce any results. But I think there's little things that are more enjoyable than to discover a new world, to learn about a fact, to learn about a skill, and to practice and maybe create something. See what you can do with your hands, with your brain. And for me, that is doing things in my household, creating things myself that otherwise I would maybe buy. But it's also watching inspiring YouTube videos, taking pictures, making these videos, working in my social work job, and just maybe staying curious and creative in general. Keeping an open mind and trying to understand other people and complicated things. Mostly when I like it, and not very much just when someone tells me to. But I think that's the beauty of learning as an adult. Most of the time we do not have to go to school anymore, but we are free to just explore all the things that excite us. And nowadays it's so easy to get information, and I think using that and changing your knowledge, growing your knowledge and your skills is an amazing tool to live a fulfilled life. And another thing that I think we should never forget, and that totally changed my perspective on living a fulfilled life, is that our lives are mostly spent in the everyday. Most of our time is spent doing mundane things and doing the same routines over and over again. Knowing that, I do think it does make sense to try making these mundane things enjoyable as well. I do not want to live for a 1-week vacation each year. And yes, if I enjoy that very much, that's great. But I do want to, as much as possible, also make sure that I have little pockets of peace and enjoyment every single day. No matter if that for you means living a slow life, being extra present and never do 2 things at one time, or if that means making mundane tasks more interesting by always listening to a podcast while doing them. I think there are many more options. You can, of course, also just completely change your whole lifestyle and make your life be interesting. So these are the areas of life that I think are very important to live a full life, and that absolutely don't need you to consume anything and buy things with your money. Now I would be really interested to hear from you. What are the areas of your life that you feel the most fulfillment in? And maybe also what are the areas in your life where you feel like you're not really satisfied yet. But as I said before, I think it's a journey and we're never going to be 100% perfect and satisfied. And I don't know. I think it's great if you can look back on your life and say like, yes, I did make the decisions for reasons. I understand my younger self and I'm glad for what she did for me and how she brought me here. And that is kind of how I feel, and that makes me feel very much at peace with my life right now. Thank you so much for watching, and I do want to link you a video here that I do hope you'll enjoy. And I want to say a special thank you to everyone who's supporting me on Patreon, but also to everyone who's still watching, because watching the video until the end really helps out my YouTube channel, and I just hope I'm gonna see you there or in my next video. Goodbye.